Thank you, Rob. Um, I'm just going to talk for a few minutes here on unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs as it was called on your agenda. But the first thing I'm going to do is let you know that in my world, we don't use that terminology anymore. We used to call these things drones, and drones have a very bad connotation to them anymore, and they were usually for killing people in a lot of people's eyes. And we went to UAVs, and lately the folks I've been dealing with have been saying we don't use UAV anymore. It's more than a vehicle, and the UAV has a connotation associated, so we're calling them UASs. So you may find UAS as a system. If you Googled UAS, you'd come up with this kind of stuff. I'm showing 4 of them here on the screen. We don't do anything like that cool one up there in the upper left. And remember, there was a time when we were all talking about Amazon, who is going to be delivering packages straight to our doors with something like this one on the right. And we don't use those either. But we do use some fixed-wing varieties, like shown in the center picture there, and more frequently some multi-rotor. This one looks like a quad rotor copter, but there can be quad or 6 or something like that that are very stable and can be used. These types of vehicles have become very inexpensive. $1,000 will get you a great setup. I mean, they're hobbyist kind of stuff. And that's really added to their popularity and their use. Yeah, so that's one thing we see is real valuable. It could be an inexpensive tool to bring into reconnaissance type work. That's a plus. There are some limitations with these things. They are battery powered, they don't have a lot of flight time, and they don't have a lot of payload capacity. So Rob just showed some real powerful stuff with LiDAR, and you can collect LiDAR from a UAV, but you will more likely find yourself collecting photos from a UAV. You can do things with just simply like a GoPro type camera or a 35 megapixel SLR type camera to capture these images. But that's typically what we're doing as shown in the lower photo down here. There are some other limitations to the use of UAVs, and they are, in this country, Federal Aviation Administration regulations. As you may be aware, we have some issues right now that it's possible as a hobbyist to go out and do something that you cannot do for commercial or other kinds of business purposes. And I know that even the state of Colorado, who owns a couple fixed wings UAVs and some, I believe they have some quad rotor UAVs as well, they've grounded their own program waiting for this FAA thing to settle out. Now the good news is it's about to settle out. They're in a federal rulemaking process right now, and in a matter of months, I think the top will be blown off of it. It's like I mentioned this morning with the 0.3 meter type resolution of satellite imagery. We're now about to be able to have commercial interests that are going out and capturing photogrammetry from UAVs. And that will greatly increase their availability to us because they're very cheap and they're easy for someone to get into. I think there'll be all kinds of market factors that play into all that. Another I'm talking the downs first, but another limitation of these UAVs is perception. I don't know how many people in here have been outdoors or someplace where they've seen somebody operating a UAV. And what was your feeling? Uneasy, right? It's annoying at best. It's like a pesky bee buzzing around or something like that. So if you are in a situation where there's been a tragedy and there's a lot of stuff going on, it's conceivable that the perception of introducing this would be something you'd have to manage. That's one of the downsides. But what are some of the plus sizes of this that you can think of? I mean, I hit the downs. What's a great thing about a UAV to capture this stuff? Safety. That was job one. That's where we started this morning. It's exactly right. This is very safe, right? Because you don't have to get there to see things. And so you can do it from a safe distance and capture things. And What else did I hear? Access is good too, because you don't have to get some of that more difficult access. And I'd say another good thing is the perspective you can get on things, right? You can look at things from a little higher than your eyesight, which we all know very well right now, but you can look in at different angles and get different perceptions. And you can do a structure for motion kind of mapping and create 3D images of things, 3D models of things. So those are the pluses for the UAV systems. I wanted to just say in my experience, this is something kind of new to GEER. We're looking at exploring expanded use of the UAV in reconnaissance, and probably in the future you'll see some kind of maybe a webinar like we did today earlier on, or some kind of correspondence from us on the use of UAVs. But I'm curious, in the audience, are there any of you that have experience with UAV that you think would be valuable to share with this group?
I know we've got some folks who have used, they're able to set them up and then use them to run pipelines.
If you don't mind, I'm going to have you speak into this. This is the only microphone I have, and it will get recorded.
So I know we have folks who who have used UAVs like for monitoring pipelines, being able to integrate that with GIS data real time in the field. So from a, I know that's
it's infrastructure monitoring kind of perspective, which is the same sort of experience that I have in using them. Did I have another hand? Yeah, over there.
So our geomatics program at Oregon State actually has a drone UAV that we've used to measure landfill volumes.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a change detection sort of thing. Fly once, get a surface map, and fly it a second time, then be able to subtract the two of them and see landfill volumes and movement.
So if anybody's read the Ikike GEER report, their structure from motion composite images, and we're able to do that. So
okay,
it's kind of the same.
Very
idea.
good. Very good.
Yeah, our colleagues up in Alaska have used it to evaluate rock slope stability on a quarry high wall.
Great.
That's like 200 feet high.
Yep.
And you can get right up there and do a whole panorama of it, and it's fantastic.
And now, are they doing a change detection as well? Multiple scans and looking
Yes.
at differences between those scans? That's a great segue into what I'll mention next. In the book you have on your desk there, at the end of it, there are a couple papers. One of them, they came from the Highway Geology Symposium this summer. I happened to be there and saw this stuff and thought, well, it's kind of interesting and pertinent here. And you can find those papers online by Googling Highway Geology Symposium. But one of them is exactly that. It's a rock slope measurement with using repeat pass photogrammetry from a UAV. And it was, a qualified success, if you will, and this, as I saw it there. The precision isn't maybe quite what you'd hope for, but with some careful engineering interpretations of what you're seeing and screening out some false positives, they were able to find source areas for rock that was, a cubic meter or several cubic meters in size, nothing any smaller than that. And then while I'm talking about that, associated with that paper, there are a couple other papers in the book that are related to other sorts of, they're more other sorts of remote sensing. They don't have particularly anything to do with UASs or UAVs, but you might take a look at them as well. One of them is on LIDAR, and the other one is on INSAR, and interferometric synthetic aperture radar that you may find of interest too. With that, that's really what I wanted to say on UAVs. I think it's one of those exciting new areas. There's some perception issues, but I think we're about to clear through that and sort of mature in the use of this, but we'll always have to be careful that it's a pesky bug flying around out there, looking in on things, looking at us in ways we're not used to having things look at us. So that'll feel a little bit awkward for a while. Thank you. I'll take any questions if there are any. Yeah.
Has GEER used any mobile LiDAR? Obviously not on UAVs, just due to restrictions, although, they're small enough to fly on those. Have you used them on tethered balloons or just on
It's a good question. I don't believe that GEER has used any mobile LiDAR on any of the reconnaissance trips, but that's quite possible too. And, you know, we had a tripod setup that Rob was showing, but you can have mobile units as well on vehicles and tethered balloons. Tethered balloons is actually an interesting way that the Bureau of Reclamation is dealing with some of this, you know, drone UAV type sentiment that's out there. A balloon is less threatening. Anything else? All right, thanks very much.